The man regards the moment with intense focus. He instructs the tearful idol to pretend they are close. The four male idols perform energetically under the bright stage lights. The two men maintain composed, serious expressions for the photo shoot. The idol looks visibly nervous while the other remains detached. Two pairs of dress shoes step carefully onto the sparkling stage floor. A female fan in a green hoodie stares, shouting, "Oh!" The celebrity and his companion walk through the yelling crowd as cameras click, click, snap, snap. Fans continue to scream excitedly, clamoring for attention as the men pass. The man in the vest expresses surprise that fans arrived so early this morning. The man in the black jacket focuses on the content displayed on his tablet. The video displays the singer happily playing guitar. The singer shifts his expression while expertly strumming the instrument. He observes that the guitarist is obviously filming in a practice room, noting his idle looks and skillful technique. The man in the vest questions why he is watching online videos, but he claims he is doing market research. The smiling video singer continues performing as the clip finishes. Bicker, bicker, the man in the vest demands the fan's phone, but the fan nervously asks to be forgiven just this once. Gyeol stands seriously amid a rain of sparkling confetti and bright light. The five group members pose together formally in their stylish monochromatic outfits. They maintain their composed, professional image against the dimly lit backdrop. Narration reveals that the press sees them as dreamy idols, but they are secretly business partners who consider their group, Kimberly, an alliance. Gyeo-wool and two other group members smile warmly on stage. The five idols look out over the roaring audience, illuminated by explosive stage effects. The man in the vest makes a contemplative sound, glancing at the distant Gyeol. A voice notes the skewed profit share arrangement was due to the large company expenditure on the song and video. Sabin recounts their financial successes, mentioning that he bought a building and Sabin opened a gallery, despite Junho Young losing money on a failed real estate deal. Gyeol questions their willingness to sign for 4 more years with the same low shares, snapping his papers shut, then sighs. Gyeol insists the man fix the share issue now and not bring it up again, but the nervous man protests that the next album's performance is unknown. The soldier in fatigues urges Gyeol to put on a show and at least try to look sad for the cameras. Gyeol quietly warns the soldier that cameras are present. Click, snap. The soldier winks and pats Gyeol's head, saying being a celebrity will make his service easy. Snapping a final picture, the soldier waves farewell and says he must head inside now. The man in the vest asks if he is finished saying goodbye, and Gyeol replies that the reporters made it chaotic. Done, done. A dramatic news headline falsely claims that Gyeol cried while saying goodbye to his members. The man in the white shirt bursts out laughing, mocking Gyeol for supposedly tearing up in the news article. Gyeol and the man in the vest press their hands together against a dark, reflective panel. The man in the vest poses confidently, reflected alongside the dark silhouette of Gyeol standing behind him. Crumple. Gyeol angrily crushes a piece of paper in his tightly clenched fist. The man in the vest asks Gyeol if he has anything to say, but Gyeol dismisses it, knowing only fans will listen anyway. Gyeol struggles to write an appropriate farewell message, finding it impossible to be sincere without sounding overly melodramatic or cringeworthy. The video singer smiles gently as he continues playing the acoustic guitar. Slam! The man in the gray suit bursts into the room shouting that this is no time to argue, demanding a plan for the current problem. Whip! The man in the dark tracksuit hands over a shiny album cover to the man in the white hoodie. The female interviewer smiles confidently, prepared with her note cards. Gyeol gently holds the interviewer's hand, asking if his moving words are part of her interview questions. Slap. Gyeol forcefully rejects her touch right after she claims that she is the best. The shocked man in the white hoodie asks what? As Gyeol explains the article got nothing wrong, negating the need for a rebuttal. A finger gives a quick tap, noting the article is just another rookie using a senior group's name for fame. The 5 members of the new group smile brightly for a promotional image. A thought bubble reflects on Gyeol, observing that he has not changed a bit since the past. The man views a screen, revealing his stage name is Winter, and his real name is Gyeol-namu, named by his father to grow strong. Winter is seen in a video segment in a bear costume alongside 2 other idols. Gyeol reflects that Winter meticulously calculates every single move. A second thought bubble says, "Hyung, hurry." 2 idols look down at Chan, who fell down with a thud, while the first idol encourages him to hurry. Gyeo-wool Hyung laughs and tells Cheho to capture the moment, while Chan complains that Gyeo-wool Hyung is mean. Snap, the idols pose for a picture to commemorate Chan falling down, featuring the phrase, "Love for the camera, leave it to the oldest hung." Hahaha, Gyeol laughs, delighted with the photo, repeating the camera caption. Kya! The idol with light attire and a pinkish hue smiles, greeting the screaming audience. Gyeol and the man in the white jacket pose on stage for the fans. Kya! The crowd cheers as the 2 men look out over the audience. 3 idols, including the pinkish one, stand together looking serious and upset backstage. Woo! Ah! The 4 members stand together in front of Gyeol, watching the performance. The pinkish idol looks distressed, with red rings around his eyes. Thud! The pinkish idol slips and falls on stage, while narration expresses concern about his knee being busted up. Kya! The stage lights shine brightly over the cheering audience. Gyeol smiles widely for the cameras, bathed in the spotlight. The female reporter asks Gyeol to say a few words to the audience. Gyeol smiles into the microphone, expressing thanks and saying he wants to thank his members first of all. Woo, Kya! The pinkish idol wipes tears away while being comforted by 2 other members. Gyeol notes that Sobin seems to have something he wants to say too. Gyeol looks intensely at the pinkish idol, who gazes back tearfully. The pinkish idol, tearful and distraught, asks, "What?" after Gyeol instructs him to smile and give him a hug. Woo, ah! Gyeol urges him to come on, waiting expectantly. The pinkish idol leans into Gyeol for a heartfelt embrace. Gyeol holds the idol tightly, looking determined and serious. Kya! Woo! The crowd cheers as Gyeol utters, "Congratulations!" Gyeol continues the embrace, whispering, "Hyung." Flinch. The manager questions Gyeol about befriending junior groups, but Gyeol retorts that their friendship status doesn't matter. 2 smiling adults enthusiastically call out, "Gyeol!" Tap. The man in the checkered coat gently pats Gyeol's shoulder, suggesting they should leave too. The man in the checkered coat smiles and asks Gyeol if the junior group, pale green, reminds him of when they were rookies. The man gestures excitedly, saying that especially Winter is cute. Gyeol notes that Winter is always like that, a good kid, but the other man suspects Gyeol is taking his side because they are friends. Gasp! The pinkish idol, Winter, splutters in water during a dramatic shoot. Clap, clap, woo! A staff member tells Winter that they got the shot for the closing thanks to him. Winter, dripping wet, smiles and replies simply, "Thank you." Chatter, chatter. A staff member reminds someone not to get water on the equipment. The staff member, smoking a cigarette, tells Gyeol he did great today. Gyeol says that it's unusual for the staff member to say the shoot went pretty well this time. Gyeol smiles and tells the staff member he saw the article. Gyeol considers that if he brings up the article now, Winter won't have to spread rumors about looking forward to working with the junior group, bowing respectfully to the director. Gyeol finds the distressed Winter huddled against a column in the parking garage. Gyeol looks concerned and thoughtful as he gazes at the idol. Clench, Gyeol thinks Winter should have either begged a rider for a ride or grabbed a taxi, questioning his star power if he cannot manage that. Winter, startled, looks up at Gyeol and questions his name. Vroom, a car drives quickly through the nighttime city streets. Gyeol glances at Winter sleeping comfortably beside him, covered by a black coat. Pat, Gyeol gently strokes Winter's forehead. Winter, still half asleep, presses his head into Gyeol's hand and murmurs that he never goes in cold water. Gyeol smiles softly, resting his hand protectively on Winter's head while driving. Gyeo-wool smiles, ensuring the cameras catch their staged embrace. Tearful Winter clings, thinking the time spent reflecting was worse. The final moment everyone has been waiting for is announced. Stage hosts ask who will take first place in January. But Dump, a nervous QB, replies, questioning if past events truly happened.
Announcers present the candidates, Kimberly's unit and Pale Green.
Clench Pale Green Company is announced as the expected group. Overwhelming texture obscures the stage. Fear of judgment prevails. A comforting hand pats Winter's shoulder, urging him not to worry. In a rapid montage, Winter stumbles on stage but is quickly caught. A startled eye flashes wide as his heart but dumps loudly. Winter struggles on stage. His frantic pulse continues, feeling observed. Winter is told to look positively on his mistake, but questions why today of all days. Flash, the host announces the next contestant, showing the 3 ready members. Kimberly members pose confidently as Winter looks distressed, needing to gulp. Breaking news reports that Kimberly has topped the US Billboard Hot 100. Flash, the host congratulates Kimberly's Moonlight unit for winning first place easily. Comparing the visible scores, a trembling hand acknowledges the quality gap. Unseen voices mock the performer who fell on stage, attributing the blunder to them being rookies. The tearful idol realizes they have yet another opponent to face. The man in the dark suit instructs them to move back while interviews are ongoing. The man in the dark suit gently taps Winter's face in a reassuring gesture. Winter apologizes profusely, but the man in the dark suit dismisses it. Fearing his tears will be photographed, Winter attempts to hide, but a hand begins to grab him. The man in the dark suit instructs Winter to hug him and smile for the camera. Winter complies, hugging the serious man in the dark suit tightly. The man in the dark suit whispers that they are capturing his expression, prompting Winter's apology. Winter sits somberly alone inside a cushioned box surrounded by scattered pink petals. A glowing yellow butterfly symbol momentarily appears on Winter's neck. A desperate man in bed thinks he hates working alone and predicts failure for another. He laughs quietly as his fully charged phone rings loudly in the dark. The phone buzzes with multiple messages, asking about Hyung's health and offering transport help. Winter speaks to his mother, assuring her his lack of makeup will prevent recognition in public. Pale Green members smile together as Winter internally claims he is a natural idol. Addressing three serious judges, Winter confidently declares his skills and appearance are good. He vows to work 10 times harder, believing he can achieve better results. Wearing his cap, Winter is determined, lying near the bright stage lights. The man in the dark suit urges Winter to move quickly with a sharp, insistent tap. The man in the dark suit whispers Gyeo-wool's name, capturing his attention. Photographers wonder if the men being filmed together know each other personally. A reporter shares the hug was congratulations. Someone furiously types, surprised by Winter's name. A perfect social media photo captures Winter gazing up at the man in the dark suit. 2 staff members apply makeup and fix Winter's appearance. 2 Pale Green members read news about a strange atmosphere between their group and Kimberly Sunbae. Winter laughs as his Hyung reads fan comments questioning if anything is really going on between the two. Winter smiles while explaining Gyeo-wool was merely comforting him during the event. The blonde member encourages Winter for facing his mistake and getting back up. The man in the turtleneck reflects, realizing Gyeo-wool was the most frightened back then. He recalls Gyeo-wool looked ready to give up as a hand reaches out urgently. 2 women discuss the intense competition for tickets, noting the good rookie album sales volume. The idol in the blue coat sits quietly, contemplating their sales performance.
Wah, three pale green idols walk the red carpet as fans scream and hold up a supportive sign.
The idol in the blue coat looks startled by the intense camera clicking and fan noise. The bustling crowd surrounds the idols, creating an impassable wave of fans. A fan asks if the event was hard. The idol replies it was easy and compliments Gyeo-woo's smiling face, receiving a compliment in return. The smiling fan shakes Gyeo-wool's hand, telling him to be happy and avoid catching a cold.
Gyeo-wool offers a wide, genuine smile to the cheering fans.
Vroom! A car drives under streetlights in the dark city night, confirming yes.
The man in the red jacket tells Winter not to feel down and asks Yoon Chae-ho why he struggled, making Chae-ho tell him to stop teasing.
Chae-ho asks if Winter's fans are introverted, getting slapped by the man in the dark shirt who asks when else he can tease him.
The four group members are asleep or resting in the car as it rattles along the road at night.
Winter asks the man in glasses why he is awake, noting everyone is sleeping. The man wonders if he needs motion sickness medicine, and Winter asks about member-chosen schedules. Winter looks deeply pensive while staring out the window, culminating in a dramatic, then, thought. Winter looks flustered and pink-cheeked as a serious man in a dark blue suit leans close to him. Winter smiles in the car, feeling relief and planning to express thanks he could not give before. Winter is huddled, chilled in the parking garage when the man in the fur-lined coat approaches him. The idol in the vest checks his phone while a woman fixes his hair, politely agreeing to stay still. A staff member comments that Jen, the man in the brown sweater, is totally drowsy during makeup preparations. Winter asks about another group named Rainbow, assuring himself he can rest after filming this one segment. Winter drinks a cup, reflecting on Kimberly's song lyrics and deciding he must thank them after filming, dismissing the idea of crying over being second. The man in glasses urges the idols to see the upcoming event as a good opportunity and warns them not to bail out due to poor condition. A woman in a tan shirt greets Winter and the blonde member Jen, holding papers regarding the schedule. The woman explains team matches will vary, and they may be mixed with Kimberly for the shooting that requires driving. The man in the dark shirt notes that Kimberly hasn't arrived, observing that they always arrive right on time, neither early nor late. Winter and Jen walk side by side down a clean white hallway. Jen gives Winter a friendly nudge, saying the diligent bird is early. Winter winks while agreeing, but they suddenly run into the tall man in the tan coat, making Jen bow deeply.
The smiling man in the tan coat claims the deeply bowing Jen is his friend, pale green.
Winter asks Jen about the important person he greeted, and Jen identifies him as the best MC in the industry, telling Winter to greet properly next time. Winter and Jen stand together, surrounded by a noisy, blurry crowd. Two men from Kimberly arrive and greet them. Winter is shocked that filming for the shoot is starting now.
The man in the light tan turtleneck proposes they start the VS segment, looking intensely at Winter.
The man in the dark shirt is surprised to see Winter, who nervously murmurs Sunbae name. The man in the tan turtleneck smiles, grabbing Winter's arm and mentioning their last encounter on stage. The man in the dark coat asks Winter and Jen if they have driver's licenses, and the man in the white turtleneck offers to take Winter since his manager is absent.
Winter and the man in the tan turtleneck drive away in the car.
Winter laughs, admitting it is his first time driving in Seoul, to which the man in the tan turtleneck responds neutrally. Jen suddenly shouts, "Where?" looking surprised from the back seat as they drive. The driver smiles, noting that others fall for the setup every time they arrive. The driver explains the dashcam is filming the VS's mini corner, making a flushed Winter embarrassed that he spoke freely. Winter looks startled, revealing he is currently 21 years old. Winter smiles and points to Jen, declaring Jen the real high school student maknae. Winter splashes into the pool, enthusiastically participating in the card-finding game and reflecting on his group's ambition. The man in the white suit observes Jen, noting he looked unwell today. Jen is distracted, thinking producer Yang Jae-hyuk is strange.
Jen tells Winter he doesn't like Yang Jae-hyuk when Winter questions him, and then Jen asks if Gyeo-wool Hyung is all right.
The manager in glasses urges them to hurry for the next schedule, panting, and quickly drags the blonde member away, ignoring Winter's protestations.
A man in a blue and white tracksuit tells Winter, who is wrapped in a towel, that he worked hard and should call him Hyung from now on.
Vroom! A car drives past in the parking lot, leaving Winter alone, covering his mouth and wanting to personally greet someone.
Winter wonders when the manager is coming, realizing with dismay that he left his wallet and phone in the car.
Winter looks distressed, realizing the manager failed to notice his jacket while driving, and questions what he did wrong.
Winter is huddled down, hiding his face in his arms in obvious distress. Startled, Winter looks up from his slump as Gyeol approaches him in the parking garage.
Gyeol points out that Winter is running a fever and cannot afford to wait there forever. Confirming the previous observation, Gyeol states that he knows the younger idol is indeed ill.
Winter looks up at Gyeol with flushed cheeks and nervously asks if he is suggesting he get into the car.
A memory shows a hand reaching out under murky water, reflecting on Gyeol's previous help before the hand slips deeper.
Still in the flashback, a man in a blue tracksuit in the pool holds a card, claiming they suddenly found it before the end of the competition.
Winter reflects that he is waiting for his filming to end and expects his manager to arrive soon.
Gyeol gently touches Winter's cheek to check his temperature and asks if he is all right.
Repeating the offer, Gyeol inquires if Winter would like to come along with him now. Winter reacts with wide eyes and thrown-up hands, loudly protesting that he is fine. In the parking garage, Gyeol pretends to leave, then stops. Winter thinks about why he isn't gone, then realizes Gyeol might be waiting for him. Winter finally agrees, getting into the passenger seat with a relieved smile. Winter apologizes for being unwell and assures Gyeol he only intends to go back to the dorm and rest. Winter quickly inputs his dorm's location on the tablet with a quick tap, and Gyeol observes that the distance is not far. Winter fidgets his hands, referencing when he was previously confused with Gyeo-wool and expressing deep gratitude for that time.
Gyeol tells Winter he doesn't need to thank him, but Winter corrects his formality and sincerely offers congratulations for the first-place win.
Winter thinks he truly wanted to convey his congratulations earlier, as Gyeol affectionately calls him by his name. Gyeol tells the younger idol sitting beside him that he does not have to struggle and try so hard. Winter looks reflective in the car, realizing his troubled mind has calmed down completely.
The two men continue their silent drive side by side through the night. Winter wakes up in bed in a white shirt, realizing that his body hurts and feels a painful throbbing.
A frantic group member, man in purple hoodie, bursts in suddenly, shouting Gyeo-wool's name. The group member in the purple hoodie explains that the manager said Kimberly called the company because Gyeo-wool fell asleep yesterday. The group member apologizes for not knowing Gyeo-wool was sick, while Gyeo-wool smiles, insisting he told everyone he was okay.
Gyeo-wool smiles widely as the group member is suddenly rushed out of the room by a man in a striped shirt.
A man in a dark hoodie checks his phone buzzing in his pocket, confused about why it is ringing.
The phone screen displays a breaking news article about Kimberly Gyeo-wool and pale green Winter captured chatting in the parking lot. Another man in a light blue open shirt looks surprised, holding his phone after reading the news.
A smiling woman in a white doctor's coat assures Gyeol that the shopping bag is not an extra charge and wishes him a nice day.
Gyeol, wearing a black cap and holding bags, leaves the noisy pharmacy crowd with a strained expression.
Gyeol, holding a bottle of water, asks a messy-haired, drowsy Winter if the sound of the bags woke him up. Winter leans on the seat, looking ill, and insists to Gyeol that he will not take the items offered. Gyeol gently taps 2 small red pills into Winter's open palm. Winter flops heavily back onto the seat, murmuring weakly that he needs to get off the car. Gyeol contemplates that the manager abandoned the sick member and wonders if this behavior reflects favoritism or other systemic issues. Winter looks dazed and confused, lying back in the passenger seat.
Gyeol gently pats Winter's chest, instructing him not to struggle and to sleep, promising to take him home safely.
Winter quickly falls asleep softly against Gyeol's coat. The car's dashboard screen rings loudly with an incoming call.
Gyeol, driving, asks if Winter happens to know the phone number for Puppet Entertainment.
Winter, smiling gently in his sleep, states that he has something he wants to say to them. A cheerful, square-faced man holds up a ringing phone and loudly shouts for everyone to wake up. The new manager, Min-shik Hyung, introduces himself to a confused Winter and his group members, asking them to call him comfortably. Min-shik Hyung shouts that they must quickly prepare because their first schedule is a pictorial shooting. Winter eats with chopsticks in the car, sitting next to the driver. The new manager laughs while reading the news article on his phone, but Winter cautions him against counting chickens before they hatch regarding winning first place. The man with dark hair reads the article aloud to the man with light hair, noting it mentions an unexpected friendship was shown on the entertainment program. The man in the brown hoodies suggests that fans will criticize the agency for leaving Winter unattended in the parking lot. Winter looks out the car window with a concerned expression as the conversation continues. The man in the black jacket shouts for everyone to calm down, while Winter looks on, utterly shocked. A staff member applies makeup to Winter, while a man in a light shirt says he will bring something soon. Below, the man in the white shirt confirms filming will begin shortly. Winter smiles softly for the camera in a light sweater as the shutter clicks. 2 group members in sweaters pose together while a voice tells them, "Good, next," and another member gives a peace sign, being urged to be more energetic. Winter tells the man in the brown sweater that he should just get angry first. The man in the brown sweater insists that Winter must get angry, pulling his shirt slightly. The man in the brown sweater declares the atmosphere is a mess if Winter is not there, and Winter smiles, chuckling softly. The man in the beige sweater grips his thigh with a quick, soft grip sounding, thinking he will also quit if his friend is angry, urging him not to think there is nothing he can do. Suddenly, Winter throws his arms around Sang-hyuk, proclaiming his friend's name affectionately. The man in the black jacket tells Winter not to worry, assuring him it probably won't be so harsh. Then Winter looks up, reflecting on his last visit to the meeting room. The man in the white shirt and tie questions if the person he is addressing does not belong to Puppet Entertainment. A wide-eyed man in a white shirt looks startled while seated in the dark room. The man in the white shirt says the other thinks the company is a joke because he has been a trainee for years, pointing to a video of Winter playing guitar labeled Appreciation Song for 10K Followers. A red-eyed man flinches, and the man in glasses aggressively questions how he thinks he can debut if he gets kicked out. Then he pounds the table, calling him Gyeol-namu. The man in the white hoodie smiles, saying that he is like the other kids. The man in the white shirt tells the idol to forget it, and with a clatter sounding, he points a finger, demanding he delete the file immediately. The video of the smiling man playing guitar for 10K followers is shown on the phone screen. The tense-looking man holds his phone, seemingly waiting for a response. The man in the white shirt confirms he deleted it, but the other man firmly demands he hand it over. Below, the man in glasses says, "All right." The man in glasses holds the phone, telling him he can go now. Winter looks in profile, seeming pensive after the exchange. Winter sits alone at the long meeting table with a light clack sounding, indicating he is in the office. Winter thinks to himself that it has been a while since then.
A close-up shows pockets of instant coffee and sugar arranged neatly next to a tray next to empty cups.
The smiling man in the white shirt and glasses calls out Gyeo-woo's name, touching his shoulder. The man in the white shirt and glasses gives a subtle smile, leaning in. A hand slides a stack of white cups, saying he called him today, not for any other issue. The man in glasses stirs his drink with a quick stir sounding, claiming somehow there has been a misunderstanding. The man in the white shirt smiles broadly, holding out the cup toward Winter. The man in glasses explains he thought he could handle Yen's schedule and Winter's at the same time, but the manager forgot. He insists they didn't intentionally leave Winter alone and hopes there is no misunderstanding. The man in the white shirt smiles to the side with his hands clasped, asking if Winter understands that there was just a slight miscommunication. Winter looks away in profile, listening silently to the man in the white shirt. Winter looks forward, acknowledging the statement with a quiet ellipsis. The man in glasses calls out Gyeo-woo's name, claiming that thanks to his care, Winter is successful like this now. The smiling man in glasses says Winter was under a lot of stress because he couldn't debut. Winter looks serious in a tight close-up, listening intently to the conversation. The man in glasses claims he stopped Winter from almost getting into the failed group BBS, who debuted before him. Winter and the blonde member look at a piece of paper, with Winter leaning in and smiling coyly. A member laughs, holding a large penguin doll, asking Winter if he is leaving the doll behind. The 5 male idol members pose together formally in their casual attire. Winter smiles subtly, looking down and away from the man in glasses. The man in glasses gives a concerned, intense side glance toward Winter. The man in glasses asks Winter if he finished talking, and Winter stands up suddenly, asking, "What?" Winter looks determined in profile, stating firmly that he does not want this to happen next time. The man in glasses protests, looking shocked, while Winter turns to leave, saying he is leaving. The man in the black jacket looks surprised, asking Winter if the talk went well. Winter looks up at the man in the black jacket, who seems concerned. Winter smiles widely, looking relaxed after the difficult conversation. The blonde member yawns, saying it's tiring, and asks why it is not even a live broadcast, while the dark-haired member smiles behind him. The blonde member questions why they cannot get first place even though they work this hard, while the dark-haired member asks if first place is easy. The man in the cap asks Winter if they can also achieve success like Kimberly. Winter looks ahead with uncertainty as the man in the cap looks upset, and a third member stands behind them. Winter stands on stage, facing the audience illuminated by numerous glowing light sticks. 2 female fans in the audience smile brightly, holding dark objects. Holding a microphone, Winter asks the audience if they skipped work or school to attend. Winter smiles broadly into the microphone under a pink light. A group of smiling female fans shout that they are here because Gyeo-wool isn't working. The man in the cap laughs and directs the conversation back to Gyeo-wool. Winter beams radiantly, continuing to hold the microphone. The cheering crowd screams loudly as the 3 idols stand under the bright lights.
One member chuckles, telling Winter he called him Gyeo-wool on purpose, but Winter denies it, though another member claims he heard everything.
Sounds of ringing bells draw attention to smiling idols and surrounding fans checking their phones, and a woman at a computer. A striking music video screen shows Winter standing still, flanked by giant flamingo figures, with a title card for Pale Green's new single, Boy, Boy, Boy. A young woman in a blue dress sits on the floor next to a pink dollhouse. Winter and 2 other group members stand solemnly as a flamingo head looms close. Winter lies down and reaches out his hands, claiming he is the boy who sings non-stop. The scene shifts to a montage of group members floating around a giant pink shoe with ribbons. Winter smiles widely, reaching his hands toward the viewer. The blonde member points out an item on his phone and asks the confused Winter to look at it.
The blonde member points to a pale green album cover, saying their new song beat all the other groups.
Suddenly, a third member throws his fist up, shouting he's sure they'll be fine, surprising Winter and the blonde member. The blonde member mentions that their reactions are explosive right now, while the dark-coated member rummages through takeout food and Winter holds a penguin doll.
The group members hug Winter, asking if they can really get first place now.
Gyeo-woo introduces himself as Kimberly Gyeo-woo, asking the audience to take care of him for the next 2 weeks.
The new member asks if Gyeol-wool is more nervous than usual because Gyeo-woo is making the announcement, which makes Gyeol-wool flinch.
Gyeo-woo asks the audience for applause, and the cheering crowd welcomes the pale green members.
Winter looks nervous, feeling his heart thumping loudly as he stands between two group members.
Gyeo-woo announces the next act, Pale Green's Boy, Boy, Boy. Winter looks shocked and wide-eyed by Gyeo-woo's unexpected announcement. Winter suddenly hugs Gyeo-woo excitedly, asking him to make the thank you speech, which gets a big cheer from the audience. Winter bows deeply to Gyeo-woo, thanking him sincerely. Gyeo-woo and Winter suddenly embrace on stage amid sparkling light. The stage lighting flashes and screams erupt from the crowd.
Gyeo-woo holds Winter close in a heartfelt hug on the sparkling stage.
Winter looks at the blonde member with slight concern.
Winter smiles into the microphone, saying he's Gyeo-woo's little toy and to give him his hand.
A man in a suit celebrates the Pale Green project finally breaking even at a gathering beneath a skyscraper. Winter eats a small sandwich as a man comments that the recent investment was good, saying they earned a lot and the deposit was no joke. Winter looks at his phone with a sparkling, surprised expression. Min-sik Hyung runs past holding a piece of meat, thinking they have been waiting so long for this last chance while Winter runs behind him. A group of 4 idols in a taxi offer the driver double pay to take them quickly to the front. Winter smiles, relaxing in the back seat as the group member next to him grins.
Gyeo-woo, wearing sunglasses and a puffy jacket, stands at a desk next to Winter and other group members.
Winter looks shocked as 3 female fans approach him in a crowded space.
A close-up shows a bowl of food topped with meat and sauces as Gyeo-woo's name is called.
A man looks at a notice, commenting that the fan reactions are explosive and Gyeo-woo must go on variety shows, while Pale Green stands below.
Winter looks thoughtfully at a tablet, resting his chin on his hand.
The dark-haired member asks Winter what is wrong, while Winter is asked if he is okay, and offered a bag if he needs to throw up due to the car stinking.
Winter and the blonde member wear headphones, and Winter says he started being a fan of idols in his life for the first time, referring to Pale Green as his younger brothers.
Winter hesitates, holding the headphones to his ears.
The radio host instructs dear parents to care for the high school student.
Winter looks distressed, wiping a tear from his eye.
The tearful idol struggles to compose himself, drip sounding.
A young man in a white tee smiles, answering his mom's call. The off-screen speaker mentions they will be late, addressing Sehana. He notes the location is far, proposing a simple dinner tonight. The man in the brown coat asks Sehon his age, who replies he is 14. The man in the coat asks Sehon his height, making the boy internally question his intent. He runs inside shouting, excitedly revealing he was scouted today. Winter maintains a cheerful expression while recording in the studio. The 2 listening male idols watch intently, one staring ahead. Winter expresses concern, worrying his bad appearance will be detrimental. Jen grabs Winter, asking why he remains so depressed and dejected.
Gyeo-woo recalls seeing Winter crying and knowing he was a competent kid.
The idol looks introspective, seeming melancholy in the moment. A man in a black jacket peeks around the door, quietly scanning the scene.
Winter adjusts his clothing, appearing reserved before the filming starts. The man in the orange sweater notes Winter is acting suspiciously obvious.
The man sighs, feeling dispirited by the broadcasts, noting one is scheduled soon.
3 female idols pose dramatically in matching black ensembles. 3 male idols stand with serious expressions in casual jackets. Winter tells the man in the black jacket to take care today as a door slams shut. The cheerful host announces the race match perfect dance show segments.
A nervous Winter sweats, looking focused ahead of his performance.
Winter and the woman hurry through the hall, dash sounding. The woman declares that the atmosphere is highly competitive, emphasizing the challenge. Winter appears tense, anticipating the rigorous competition ahead. The pair smiles confidently, striking a synchronized pointing pose. Winter and the woman move with energy during the musical performance.
Winter asks the man in the dark turtleneck about his fatigue, who says he must work this hard. Then he is formally addressed.
Winter and the woman exchange a warm, meaningful glance. The woman holds out her phone, politely asking Winter for his contact number.
Winter acknowledges the request with a surprised okay gesture.
2 men react with obvious shock at the unfolding situation. The man observes the intense struggle of idols, comparing them to a hamster wheel. Another man finds the concept of the fan hamster wheel highly interesting.
The serious man turns, staring intently from the dark doorway.
Jen looks hesitant and nervous when confronted by the other man.
Winter murmurs a soft sorry while looking downcast.
The man in the orange sweater dismisses Jen's attitude, blaming it on being edited out. The 3 male idols stand together looking deeply uncomfortable.
Jen gently instructs Winter to wait in the living room temporarily.
Jen suggests that he and Cheho should talk privately.
Cheho stares forward with an intensely serious expression. Cheho stands facing the window, with Winter looking at him.
Winter looks down, deep in thought, beside the window.
Winter confronts Cheho, insisting he must not displace his anger onto others.
Cheho asks if Winter expects members to cater to his emotions about his sister.
Winter asks Cheho if he believes he genuinely dislikes talking about his family. Winter looks distressed, questioning if Cheho thinks he hates him due to his sister.
Gyeo-wool presses the issue, asking what the real problem is.
Winter looks down, stating he doesn't want anyone to feel regret. The idol confidently claims he would exploit a famous family connection.
He confirms his motivation is purely to gain necessary public attention.
Winter challenges Yoon Cheho to step up if he dislikes the attention focus. The idol insists Cheho can take the spotlight anytime he wishes. Winter closes his eyes, sharply declaring the argument finished.
Gyeo-wool runs his hand through his hair, looking troubled.
A sudden sound reveals Gyeo-wool reacting with quiet disapproval. The workstation remains quiet and unused in the low light.
Gyeo-wool clarifies that the conflict is not about celebrity status.
He expresses self-doubt, lacking the other person's talent or disposition. Winter looks surprised, questioning the morality of the current dynamic.
Gyeo-wool turns away, leaving Winter looking on from behind.
The idol contemplates deeply, facing the dim window blinds. Winter smiles brightly on stage, immersed in performance joy. A clenched hand recalls the pressure of training, vomiting, and crying publicly.
Gyeo-wool gives a small smirk, acknowledging the intense suffering.
Winter calls him Hyung, finding his perspective bizarre and unsettling.
The confused idol stands alone, his expression troubled.
Gyeo-wool stands, back turned, seemingly deep in thought.
Gyeo-wool closes his eyes in weary contemplation.
The 2 men stand face to face in the dim room's quiet tension.
Gyeo-wool breaks the silence with a softening, subtle smile.
Winter's eyes widen, fixed intently on Gyeo-wool's expression.
A dual panel shows the back of Winter's head, emphasizing his posture.
Crowds bustle loudly through the brightly lit, noisy transit area.
A hand points to an exposed identification card, warning the holder.
Winter confirms to the man in the beanie that he secured his ticket.
The man in the black jacket cautiously asks about motion sickness, which Winter dismisses.
2 group members exchange worried looks, questioning the other's previous dark mood. The plane cabin sits empty, awaiting its passengers for travel.
Seated on the plane, the black-jacketed man asks Winter what occurred earlier.
Winter smiles, assuring him they resolved their problem through discussion.
The idol states the importance of communication for mutual understanding.
Winter gazes thoughtfully out the small airplane window.
He quickly turns his head, a soft, quick movement sounding.
The idol lowers his gaze, seeming contemplative and fatigued.
Closing his eyes, Winter begins to rest peacefully.
A man in a long, dark coat stands against a brightly lit white wall. Winter bows low in a polite greeting to the man in the brown coat. Formal attire is showcased alongside a dress shoe stepping carefully.
Winter beams, radiating warmth in his casual, smart winter coat.
A man in a dark suit reaches for a croissant on the display tray, making a curious sound.
Two group members react as a third excitedly calls them to come eat something.
The man in the tan jacket attends to the blindfolded figure, confirming this care is their duty.
The man in the blue jacket yells a demand to start the car, which is furiously rejected. A third man intervenes, promising to increase the group's appearance fee.
The beautiful woman in the yellow gown smiles radiantly. She stands next to the weary man in the dark fur-collared jacket.
The woman in the yellow dress twirls around happily for the man in the black jacket.
The man in the black jacket tells her she has never made any mistakes to him.
She looks genuinely surprised by the unexpected kindness, exclaiming, "Huh?"
The woman smiles sweetly while looking downward. She states it would be bad if the contact number got wiped off. The woman smiles next to the Cinderella-costumed man near a music count sign. A close-up shows her contented, smiling face. Someone thinks about forming a bond of sympathy while rubbing a bandaged, injured foot. Winter is asleep, clutching his phone, with faint marks on his cheek.
Suddenly, Winter is jolted awake, looking wide-eyed and startled.
Gyeo-wool appears serious, looking down on him from above.
Winter smiles cheerily, wearing a straw hat and backpack.
Gyeo-wool turns to look at the noisy, celebrating film crew behind him. Gyeo-wool leans in close to Winter, speaking softly.
Gyeo-wool walks with his arm around Winter, who holds a basket of sticks. The two men walk with purpose, Gyeo-wool taking the lead. Winter offers Gyeo-wool an invitation to proceed together. Gyeo-wool and Winter discuss the contents of the woven basket.
Gyeo-wool smiles charmingly at the offer.
Winter looks confused by the sudden attention, wondering what to say. Gyeo-wool gives Winter a light nudge on the shoulder.
Winter grins playfully while pointing his finger at Gyeo-wool.
Gyeo-wool pushes Winter's hat down with a push, covering his eyes.
Gyeo-wool, about injuring him, insists a penalty is a penalty.
Gyeo-wool flicks Winter hard on the forehead, making Winter cry out.
Gyeo-wool walks away from Winter with his backpack slung over his shoulder. A man in a blue puffy jacket instructs the team, pointing out a frame.
The team complains that they were promised no physical labor and questions the short 20-minute time frame.
Winter stands facing Gyeo-wool, wiping his mouth with a concerned expression. Winter looks down, deep in thought with a worry expression. Gyeo-wool worries about something, wiping his face as Winter looks on confused. Winter holds up a transparent object, identifying it as the front window of the tent. Both men gently handle the tent fabric, fiddling with the material.
Gyeo-wool grabs Winter's shoulders, startling him suddenly.
Gyeo-wool smiles, claiming he will help Winter see the stars while holding a pole.
Winter looks serious and determined against the snowy background.
The man yells through a megaphone for the teams to choose a tent first. Hands grab for tent bags in a frantic dash. Gyeo-wool thinks the comedian team is just trying to be entertaining, observing their excitement. Gyeo-wool struggles to flap open the tent fabric, expressing frustration. He tells Winter to give him the pole, while Winter ponders silently.
Gyeo-wool stares in disbelief as Winter is lying on the ground, holding his bleeding hand.
Winter laughs, claiming he fell accidentally when the tent fabric scattered.
Gyeo-woo laughs, but Winter urgently tells him to stop laughing and quickly build the tent.
Winter smiles softly to himself, perhaps remembering Gyeo-woo's laughter. Gyeo-woo announces their idol team was the first to successfully set up a nice tent. Ta-da! Gyeo-woo and Winter smile proudly, standing in front of the finished tent. They sit near a crackle fire, sharing that the film was made with a friend. Winter offers Gyeo-woo a roasted marshmallow on a stick.
Gyeo-woo grabs the stick and firmly tells Winter not to eat it.
Winter looks delighted, exclaiming the roasted marshmallow looks delicious.
Gyeo-woo identifies the treat as a s'more, instructing him to eat it.
Winter smiles gently while taking a bite of the s'more. Winter asks Gyeo-woo to share the sweet, but Gyeo-woo replies firmly, "I hate sweets." The man in the gray hoodie announces that the next shoot will start soon.
Staff members gather around camera equipment and lighting rigs in the dark.
Gyeo-woo, bewildered, wonders why he spent all his time making s'mores. Winter suggests they get some sleep, causing Gyeo-woo to look at him intently. Winter looks wide awake and smiling while lying in bed.
Gyeo-woo lies next to Winter, who is clutching a penguin plush toy in their shared tent.
Gyeo-woo looks surprised, observing the sleeping Winter next to him. Gyeo-woo gently touches the cheek of the sleeping idol.
Gyeo-woo looks down thoughtfully at Winter, who is peacefully asleep, clutching the toy.
Gyeo-woo is shown holding Winter close as Winter snores softly in his sleep. A voice abruptly announces it's 6:30 and time to wake up, startling the embracing pair. The smiling man in the blue jacket tells Gyeo-woo that the other groups are already awake.
Gyeo-woo wears a slightly annoyed expression after waking up.
The two men lie close together, still asleep.
Gyeo-woo gives a sharp glance down, looking somewhat predatory.
Text boxes comment that Winter tries hard everywhere and is cute.
Winter looks determined while gripping his hands together.
Gyeo-woo is seen inside the tent, looking serious, with Winter reacting in the background.
Gyeo-woo holds a roasted marshmallow, contemplating it.
The narration notes that Winter of the pale green is eating marshmallows that Gyeo-woo of the Kimberly baked.
The man in the black shirt thinks the situation is quite good while rubbing his chin. The man in the black shirt questions if their relationship is normally this good, pointing out that everyone knows Gyeo-woo hates being called Yoonwoo. Winter smiles brightly, being asked what he thinks about Gyeo-woo finding his name very feminine. Winter looks surprised, clearly affected by the question. Winter smiles widely, scratching the back of his neck nervously. A finger presses the play icon on a screen.
VRR Gyeo-woo reads messages about the cold phase of spring and being seen by another show.
Tap, 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 a pair of hands furiously types on a keyboard.
Gyeo-woo looks contemplative after typing on the keyboard.
Gyeo-woo comments, VRR, that he thinks Winter has been seen by another show. Two cheerful managers talk to Winter in an office.
The man in the suit thinks new rookies normally cannot cooperate permanently with anyone, despite talk of later adjustments. Winter smiles next to the happy manager, giving a thumbs up.
Winter and the manager embrace near a smiling manager sitting at a desk.
Winter smiles confidently over the shoulder of the manager next to him.
The man in the black shirt sits thoughtfully, resting his chin on his hand.
A man greets Winter in a bright, modern interior filled with moving people. A man wearing a black jacket and a baseball cap cheerfully asks Gyeo-woo what he would like to drink, while a sign notes the resting area. Winter changes his mind, preferring a sports drink over peach juice. Winter smiles softly while reading papers after the man leaves to get the drinks. Winter's hand flips through a script document quickly. Winter stands crying with blood dripping from his mouth near a bright light.
A smiling woman calls out Winter's name, holding a water bottle.
She tells him to wait for the other three people, and she will introduce him after their meeting over there, handing him a bottle and papers. Winter looks excited, noticing the empty space where the woman was standing. He realizes 7 hours have passed,
and wonders if the guests are outnumbered by the hosts since everyone is busy. Winter looks suddenly startled, facing the man in the dark jacket. The man in the black jacket smiles while Winter bows deeply. The man in the dark jacket looks calm and observant. He urges Winter to come closer, gently grabbing his shoulders.
The man in the dark jacket smiles, telling Winter to relax his shoulders.
Winter smiles slightly, still looking nervous as he is held.
The man in the black jacket explains that his actions are meant to help Winter loosen up.
The man pushes Winter to sit down while holding papers in his lap.
A close-up shows the man rubbing Winter's shoulder reassuringly.
Winter, looking down, confirms that he understands the instruction.
The man in the black jacket flashes a subtle, knowing smile. Winter looks distressed, his eyes wide and worried.
2 chibi versions of the characters feature above a translation credit.
Winter looks downward, his heartbeat sounding loud. The man smiles warmly at Winter, whose heart continues to throb.
The man in the dark jacket touches Winter's leg, asking if he has greeted the staff yet.
He continues to smile gently at the nervous younger idol. The man in the black jacket and Winter sit next to each other, Winter twitching nervously.
A close-up reveals the man's lower face and a slight, confident smile.
The 2 men walk side by side down a hallway as quiet whispers follow them.
Winter reflects that the hand's touch lingers and questions if he acted inappropriately.
The smiling man in the dark jacket greets the director loudly.
He introduces Winter as the rookie he respects, and Winter bows, stating he is Pale Green's leader. The director in glasses welcomes him warmly, mentioning the Camp show.
The man laughs, asking the director to take good care of Winter, the youngest person there.
Winter looks down, gently touching his hands together and thanking the director.
The trio walks away, enveloped in a dark, slightly menacing atmosphere.
A woman places a mic on Winter, instructing him to put it on. The woman advises Winter to remove his sweater to avoid stealing the host's attention.
The same woman suggests he can wear it for the radio show so he does not appear overly competitive.
Winter smiles while being greeted by 2 happy staff members who recognize him from TV. He chuckles, affirming that the camp show is great.
The man in the tan suit watches the 3 laughing people. The man in the tan suit adjusts his tie, looking serious as his assistant looks confused.
He observes the camera monitor, noting the biggest person sits centrally while the smallest is pushed aside. The man with the headphones questions if the suit-wearing man is referring to physical size.
The camera records the team, with Winter looking awkward while holding a paper.
The man in the tan suit laughs, pointing at the screen content.
A close-up shows the man's mouth curled into a predatory, sharp smile.
Water is boiling loudly in a pot on the stove. The man wearing an apron asks if they are having spicy chicken stew. Winter smiles brightly, announcing his return to the man in the apron.
The man in the apron, looking slightly concerned, asks what happened.
Winter looks on nervously as the man in the apron questions his actions.
Winter, eyes wide, reacts to the implied question. Is he laughing? Winter asks if Jamie is in the bedroom, and the man in the apron confirms he is resting.
Winter yells Jamie's name before dashing quickly away.
Winter smiles, calling out Jamie's name before the bedroom door creaks open.
Winter embraces the blonde member, welcoming him back early from the schedule.
Winter sits next to the blonde member, asking if the shooting went well. The blonde member and Winter look confused, staring ahead with question marks. Winter asks the blonde member if he remembers the day they filmed in the pool. The blonde member confirms Winter disliked host Yang Jae-hyuk that day. The blonde member smiles, acknowledging that was the day Winter was sick.
Winter smiles widely, looking off to the side.
The blonde member looks nervous, staring ahead in profile.
The blonde member recalls that guy closed the door after they came to the restroom. Clack! A tall man in a dark suit silhouette closes a door, startling the blonde member.
The silhouette of the man in the dark suit asks Winter how old he is, with the blonde member looking on.
Winter replies that he is 21 years old, noting that the man was disappointed after he said his age.
The blonde member sits on the hospital bed, looking at Winter, who stands beside him. Twitch. The blonde member looks worriedly, with a noticeable twitch in his expression. Wave. Winter laughs widely on the hospital bed as the blonde member looks concerned.
The blonde member looks serious in profile, crossing his arms.
Two men sit at a table drinking, murmuring quietly amongst the lively scene. Winter looks down, holding a cup, looking slightly red in the face.
RUB. A hand touches Winter's leg discreetly under the table. Two chibi idols in traditional clothes and bunny ears prepare rice on the moon. 3 mugs of beer are cheered together in a blurry, festive environment.
Noisy, multiple people worked hard today, shown next to food on the table. A cheerful man in a black shirt raises his mug, telling Winter to drink and cheers. Winter smiles, holding a cup and asking his Sunbae to drink with him. Winter sits at the table with 2 other men, enjoying the barbecue.
The man in the black shirt beams brightly, looking down.
A strip of raw meat is held with chopsticks, proclaiming they are Buchan Yunsukchan, all the oldest and the leaders. Winter looks pleased, holding his chopsticks and looking away.
One of the men jokes that Winter won't think he and Winter are both leaders, causing Winter to laugh happily.
The man in the black shirt asks why Winter eats so little, saying he can get drunk quickly, and Winter replies he has a schedule tomorrow.
The man holding a beer bottle advises Winter to just drink beer instead of somek, smiling broadly.
Winter smiles, thanking everyone for their concerns.
Tack. A man in a black suit with a smug expression places his hand on the mug in front of Winter.
The man in the black suit, looking down, insists Winter must drink a little more since he worked the hardest today. Winter smiles broadly, quickly refusing the drink and insisting he only drink this.
Another man agrees with Yang Sunbae and says he will drink this glass, startling Winter.
Winter and the man in the black suit sit together, Winter holding his mug while the other man holds a beer bottle.
A hand pours liquid from a bottle into a mug, as Winter says thank you, Sunbae. Winter holds the bottle, smiling slightly while looking at the man in the black suit. The man in the black suit instructs Winter to prioritize pouring wine for high-status people first. Winter smiles, thinking the rituals are exhausting, while the man in the black suit smiles down at him. Touch. A hand rests on Winter's thigh under the table. Winter drinks from his mug, realizing he is being touched again. A man in a black shirt looks intensely forward, holding a mug. Thump, thump. Winter's heart pounds loudly as he looks shocked and fearful.
Roll. A member runs into the room shouting, "Hyung, wake up!"
Slap, slap. The member yells at Winter, asking how much he drank to be like this, and Winter weakly replies, 2 glasses of beer. The frantic member exclaims that Winter looked like a ghost sleeping next to the shoes cabinet. VRR. Winter says he won't drink that much in the future, with his phone vibrating on the bedside table. Winter, looking surprised, questions why someone sent him the dinner location directly. The man in the gray jacket, in the car, says only the directors and presenter are invited, and tells Winter to call him immediately at the end. Winter replies he is not a kid. The man in the gray jacket looks anxious, staring ahead, then emphatically tells Winter he must call him. A dark van drives slowly past a traditional-style building. Swish, wind rustles past the traditional-style building, illuminated at night.
Winter, in a tan jacket, stands anxiously on the paved road outside the building.
Gulp. Winter swallows hard, his face full of nervous sweat. Winter stands inside the building, looking at a woman in a light green hanbok. Winter whispers to the woman not to take his shoes, asking for help placing them down. Open. The door slides slightly open, revealing a nervous Winter peeking inside.
A man in a light gray shirt holding a small cup smiles widely, telling Winter to come here and sit quickly. The man in the light gray shirt smiles, commenting that the dishes yesterday didn't suit Gil's taste. Winter looks concerned and slightly nervous, resting his hands on his chest.
Whoa, the man laughs, saying the taste is soft and not even spicy, which makes Winter look surprised.
The man in the gray shirt, sitting across a table laden with food, apologizes for being arbitrary with physical contact the other day.
The man in the gray shirt smiles subtly, holding a small white cup. Winter smiles back nervously, holding his hands together.
The narration reflects on news about an idol missing in J-Zone, whose parents posted a video. Someone asks if Gyeol-la is still listening.
Winter lies passed out on the tatami floor near the dinner setting. A man's face smiles darkly, noting Winter's hands and feet feel too small, confirming the idea that no such thing as a small touch exists.
Winter is startled by the man in the gray shirt standing over him, pulling up his pants leg.
Thump, thump. Winter sits hunched over, sweating and distressed.
VR. Winter thinks the vibrating phone is his manager, who told him to call.
Twitch. Winter sits across from the man in the gray shirt, fiddling with his phone.
Haha, Winter looks flushed and breathless while holding his phone. Winter stands outside, hunched over and catching his breath in the dim light. Winter holds his phone to his ear, whispering urgently.
Tears stream down Winter's face as he talks on the phone outside.
Above a bowl of white liquid, the thought bubble describes the action as calling him to a place where only two of them are, pretending to care and be sorry.
A dark silhouette looms over Winter, saying his hands and feet confirm he is really a kid. Winter looks flustered, holding his phone, as the woman in the hanbok asks if he is all right.
Step, Winter walks, asking the person to please go in this direction.
Push. Winter runs his hand through his hair, looking flustered. The person on the phone shouts Gale's name loudly.
Hee. Winter laughs happily while talking on his phone.
Winter stands outside, looking up while talking on the phone. A close-up shows Winter looking serious while on the phone. Winter points out there is a word heart in the restaurant's entrance sign. Winter says he must return and apologize because he kicked the hands of McJaehyuk before he left.
Winter stands distressed, talking on the phone with a flushed face.
A hand is seen close to Winter's face, holding the phone. Winter turns his back to the viewer, talking on the phone under bright streetlights. A man in a purple and gray uniform stands in a convenience store, looking at his phone.
The employee looks up, murmuring, "Welcome." Winter is seen sparkling in the convenience store while talking on the phone.
The employee thinks Winter is so handsome, noting it was warm inside the restaurant. A hand offers Winter a milk carton while he is on the phone.
Blurry. Two women stand behind Winter, their faces obscured.
One woman tells Winter he is so handsome in person, and Winter smiles, saying he really has to answer this call.
Sip. Winter sips the drink through a straw, commenting that it is sweet.
Winter sits back, holding the milk carton and talking on the phone, looking relaxed. Winter is asked why he is drinking what someone else gave him, and he replies, smiling, that a fan gave it to him.
Haha, Winter laughs happily while talking into the phone.
Winter sits at the blue table, looking down while on the call. Winter looks tired and pensive while holding the phone close.
A somber photo of an idol sits at a memorial altar decorated with flowers.
A man in a white shirt comforts a woman dressed in black, clutching her shoulder.
Winter rests his head down on the table, wondering what he should do. Winter is told he should have studied hard, replying that everyone hates studying. Winter looks shocked and startled, holding his phone tightly.
He looks away, seemingly lost in deep thought, murmuring a single word.
A man stands outside a black car, informing Min Shik-hyung that Gyeo-wool has arrived. The man in the black suit looks serious while holding his phone. Winter looks down at his phone, offering a slight smile.
The man in the black suit stands over Winter, calling him Gyeol.
A phone screen shows an ongoing voice call from Kimberly Gyeo-wool Sunbae. The man in the black suit grabs Winter's shoulder, raising his voice.
He instructs Gyeol that they must leave immediately.
Winter mumbles a protest, refusing to go, correcting his name to Sihan.
The man picks up Winter abruptly, carrying him securely in his arms. He puts the slightly red-faced Winter down in the car seat.
Winter looks at the man in the dark suit, ordering him to unlock the car door.
The man in the black suit leans in, gently knocking on the car window and looking intently at Winter.
Winter leans toward the window, asking if the man can take him home. He gasps in surprise as the man's hand quickly pushes a button, making a clock sound.
Winter sits down in that seat next to the man in the dark suit.
Winter stares down silently at his phone in contemplation.
The man commands him not to call anyone.
The man in the black suit orders Winter to text the manager tomorrow morning, claiming he was too drunk to remember.
Winter smiles slightly, letting out a small, amused sound.
Winter looks at the man, happily saying Gyeo-wool Sunbae came to see him.
A close-up on the shoes confirms the identity of pale green Winter.
Winter smiles sweetly, thinking about the interaction.
The man asks Winter why he came all this way to pick him up.
Winter is startled as the car suddenly speeds away.
Winter embraces his knees, looking down thoughtfully while the car drives fast.
Winter smiles at the surprised driver, engaging in conversation. The driver signals a peace sign with a subtle smile.
Winter turns to the driver, explaining he must use the formal address to avoid being rude.
The man acknowledges Mr. Pale Green Winter, holding the idol's hand.
Winter looks wide-eyed, flustered by the attention.
He tells the man he must shout if someone is touching him.
Winter looks down, mumbling softly to himself.
The man murmurs that Winter should have told him sooner, grabbing his hand tightly.
The man insists it is Winter's fault and he should have said no to the touching. Winter clenches his hands together, hating the annoyance he feels. A voice asks about the latest show and why the person is calling so late. A sign reads Kimberly waiting room for Yang Jae-hyuk's show.
Winter stands outside the door, knocking loudly and questioning the early arrival.
Winter opens the door slightly, peering out with a nervous ruttling sound.
Winter smiles sweetly at the person he greets, who thanks him for saying hello.
The man in the black turtleneck confronts Winter abruptly, telling him he is going to tell him something.
Winter looks flustered, leaning back slightly.
He rubs his arm, unsure if he made a mistake, claiming he doesn't remember.
The man in the dark turtleneck looks intensely forward. Gyeo-wool holds the idol in the white sweater close.
Winter thanks his Sunbae while looking them.
The smiling man in the gray suit approaches them.
The producer gestures with his hand to hurry. The idol tells Gyeo-wool he must go now.
Gyeo-wool stares at the idol with a stern look.
Gyeo-wool challenges Winter, recalling his previous mistake.
Winter reacts suddenly, covering his face in embarrassment. Winter is held tightly while confessing his visit today.
Gyeo-wool smiles subtly while peeking around the corner.
A foot descends the stairs with a sudden step sound. A hand reaches out to give Winter a drink. The producer urges Winter to drink the liquid. Winter recalls painful memories of food and drinking.
Yang Jae-hyuk warns Gyeol about ignoring people's sincerity.
The man in the gray suit smiles calmly.
Winter manages a soft yes in response.
The idol drinks the juice box near the producer.
Yang Jae-hyuk comments on Gyeol's compliant future.
Gloom fills the air. Winter realizes the producer's contempt. He thinks about always being polite despite hating it. Winter tightly grips the papers with a fierce clench. Winter writes next to Yang Jae-hyuk on the stairs. The producer declares he cannot stand it anymore. Winter looks down, distressed and heartbroken. Yang Jae-hyuk reminds Gyeol that he is the leader. He stresses that Gyeol leads 4 other members.
The producer criticizes the other three members' traits. The producer smiles slyly, touching his face.
Winter stares wide-eyed in shocked realization. Winter rejects the idea as the producer touches him.
The man in the suit smiles placidly.
A hand rubs Winter's shoulder and calls him cute. Winter looks intensely distressed, lowering his gaze.
He suppresses his strong feelings with a hard clench. The 5 idol members pose together formally. The producer threatens Winter, revealing a sadistic smile. Winter questions the producer's behavior in shock.
Gyeo-wool arrives with a determined stride.
Gyeo-wool asks the tired producer if he is all right. Staff worries about the deathly pale young rookie idol. Gyeo-wool declares, "Let's go," grabbing Winter's hand. They dash away holding hands together.
Yang Jae-hyuk questions Gyeo-wool's reason for the grab.
The producer demands Gyeo-wool stay out of their discussion. Winter hears quiet whispers questioning the word work. The idol looks surprised, asking a hesitant question.
Gyeo-wool stares, looking deeply frustrated by the situation.
The idol looks up, contemplating the serious atmosphere. Winter leans on Gyeo-wool as they stand together. Winter rushes ahead with a dash, declaring there is nothing more to discuss. A staff member calls out Mr. Gyeo-wool as Gyeo-wool takes the lead, surrounded by whispers.
The man in glasses asks Mr. Winter to answer.
The man in glasses asks Winter if Gyeo-wool saw the incident incorrectly.
Winter insists that MC Yang is not the type to hit anyone. Winter looks away, asking if Gyeo-wool was hit by Yang Jae-hyuk.
The man in glasses looks shocked and distressed in the parking lot.
He questions Gyeo-wool, wondering if he was hit.
The man in glasses looks stunned as he realizes the situation.
The man in glasses confirms the suspicions, looking concerned.
Gyeo-wool stares intently at the man in glasses.
Gyeo-wool tells Winter to go ask Yang Jae-hyuk directly.
The man in glasses appears shocked, staring at Winter's back.
The man in glasses tells Gyeo-wool to for that.
Gyeo-wool and Winter step away. Gyeo-wool states they have nothing else to say.
The man in glasses calls out Gyeol's name anxiously.
He curses Yang Jae-hyuk, covering his mouth in distress.
Winter shouts Hyung, looking concerned at Gyeo-wool.
Winter looks worriedly at the person beside him.
Gyeo-wool grabs Winter's hand, asking him to return to the set.
Winter looks distressed, apologizing for the trouble. Winter expresses concern about bad articles and worsening relationships.
Gyeo-wool sternly tells Gyeol-namu Winter's real name to get a hold of himself. Gyeo-wool presses his hand over Winter's, declaring himself the best in the industry.
Winter looks shocked and wide-eyed by the touch and declaration.
Winter asks Gyeo-wool how he can return to the set alone.
Gyeo-wool responds, acknowledging Winter's fear as he removes his hands.
Winter holds Gyeo-wool's hand while apologizing for trying to solve it alone.
Winter realizes something, looking surprised. A cheerful Winter winks, holding a thank you note and winking. Winter stares, looking overwhelmed by the emotions.
A man in a suit covers his mouth, looking contemplative and distressed. Winter watches 2 members of his group happily standing together.
The man in the light sweater waves with a friendly smile.
Winter blushes, realizing what Gyeo-wool meant by coming to see him. A woman in a dark brown shirt confronts the producer. The woman demands to know what the producer was doing with Mr. Winter.
Yang Jae-hyuk shouts that he did not hit the idol.
The man repeats they only talked about work to the woman. The woman shouts, referencing the Pocheon dinner where the man was seen. A woman in a brown turtleneck stands with crossed arms next to a surprised man in a dark hoodie. The woman shouts, her eyes squeezed shut in frustration. She points angrily at the man in the dark hoodie. The man in the dark hoodie thinks the producer was trying to hit him again. Gyeo-wool and Winter stand side by side, both looking forward. The man in the dark hoodie asks Winter if he is all right, who replies he is fine, Hyung.
Winter gulps, looking anxious and flustered.
The woman in the brown turtleneck looks on, shouting,
A man and woman discuss how an article about being naked would look good, and the man agrees.
Winter looks troubled next to the man in the dark hoodie.
The man in glasses looks worriedly at Winter.
The man in the dark hoodie and Winter walk forward with a quick step.
Winter looks down, pensive and uneasy.
The man in the dark hoodie tells Mr. Winter to go in, surprised the sub-MCs helped.
Winter feels the lump in his heart melting as he steps forward. Winter bows, apologizing profusely to the man in the dark hoodie.
The man in the dark hoodie recalls avoiding eye contact during an incident. The man pushes down on his hands, stating he was beaten after Eomsuk heard, and intended to ask Winter what happened.
The man in the hoodie realizes that's why Winter did not tell him. He did not dare to open his mouth. Winter looks up, wide-eyed and startled. Winter explains his gratitude to the man in the dark hoodie for his help.
Winter bows deeply, thanking the man for his help.
Winter smiles gently in acceptance.
The man in the dark hoodie states that they are one team.
Winter is reminded they are one team.
The man in the dark hoodie argues with Winter, gesturing wildly.
Winter looks distressed, focusing on his breathing.
A group of 3 people smile happily together.
The man in the dark hoodie holds out a bottle of water.
Winter thinks the man reminds him of Sang-hyuk.
The 5 idol members stand close together, smiling on stage. 2 chibi idols, one winking and the other holding a cat, are shown.
The 5 members turn their backs to the audience in a dazzling performance.
A thought bubble questions if he truly believed they were a team. The idol faces away from the camera toward a blinding light.
A table is set with various Korean dishes, including a fried egg.
The thought is that he called the dorm home and members family.
Winter smiles softly while holding chopsticks. He wonders if he really believed his own words.
The group members sit around the kitchen table.
The blonde member thinks he could have told Jeannie he was having a hard time.
The member with the reddish shirt thinks he could have complained to Cheney.
Winter grips his knee tightly with a hard clench.
He looks down sadly, deep in thought.
Winter sits down, stating he is okay while a member tends to his hair. Winter wonders if saying it's okay will make others agree it is okay.
The man in the dark hoodie looks enraged, staring ahead.
The man grabs Winter's hand, stating there is no need to stay.
The member in the brown shirt urges them to wait for young Jae-hyuk to apologize.
The man in the dark hoodie looks furious, turning his face away.
The woman with the ponytail asks what he means by beating and calling out.
The man tells the woman to ask that bastard young Jae-hyuk if she wants to know.
The man sighs, apologizing for screaming earlier.
The man in the dark hoodie points a finger, looking angry.
The woman in the ponytail questions the producer's actions during the dinner party.
The man questions if it was called a dinner party at all. Winter sits in the car, watching the man in the dark hoodie push his head down. Winter, looking concerned, asks if the producer touched him. The man in the hoodie says he only just found out because the comedian told him.
Winter asks, smiling slightly, why the man in the hoodie did not tell him earlier. A thought bubble expresses the incompetence of the man in the dark hoodie, admitting he is incompetent and noting that even he could not know if they were the same as the bastard, as cars honk.
The man apologizes to Gyeol, saying he must be angry.
The man in the dark hoodie smiles warmly. Winter smiles brightly while seated in the car.
A group member asks a worried Winter if he is okay, having heard he was beaten.
Another member pulls Winter's shirt, demanding to see where he was hit.
The member demands Winter take off his shirt, threatening to do it himself.
Winter smiles gently, closing his eyes. Winter stands bare-chested, having removed his shirt.
A member asks where he was hit, telling him to put on his shirt.
Winter smiles sadly, claiming he was beaten up in his heart. The members argue, with one asking Gyeol-namu where he was hit, and another asking why he is yelling at Hyung.
Winter looks down with a melancholic smile. Winter looks over his shoulder, smiling softly.
Winter laughs, saying he will explain everything to Jamie over dinner later. Winter is asleep, hugging a penguin plushie on his bed. He wakes up looking distressed and thoughtful. Winter clutches a pillow tightly while holding his phone.
Gyeo-wool looks contemplative, staring downward.
Winter looks up, illuminated by bright light.
A figure in a suit and Winter hold hands, surrounded by light.
Winter lies down, covering his face with the collar of his shirt.
The idol turns his head to the side while lying down.
Two smiling men on a screen show the special episode garnering high ratings.
A stack of papers rests next to a mug on a table.
The man in glasses smiles nervously, asking for reconsideration.
The man in the pinkish suit promises not to let abuse happen on set again.
The man in the pinkish suit looks down, contemplating the situation.
Winter stands, confused, as two men argue loudly nearby.
Winter thinks that the man is producer O.
Winter stares at the man in the pinkish suit.
The man in the pinkish suit closes his eyes, saying they want Winter back as a sub-MC.
Three smiling people hold up yellow cards.
A social media screenshot shows rumors about an assault case being true. Narration notes the online Showbiz channel broke the story. The article mentions Yang Jae-hyuk habitually abused idol B as a supporting MC, and Sunbae A witnessed it. The text states that the Showbiz article is clearly about Pale Green's Winter and Kimberly's Gyeo-wool.
Gyeo-wool looks down, thinking that those who watch the show know he cares for Winter. Winter smiles brightly between two other idols on stage.
A pair of hands rapidly types, confirming Yang Jae-hyuk has bad rumors and they are an employee at a local restaurant.
A narrator remembers seeing Yang Jae-hyuk bring Yoon Si-woo for drinks, looking at a picture.
Winter looks worriedly at a woman in a traditional green outfit.
The woman speaks, unsure if Yang Jae-hyuk beat Yoon Si-woo, but confirms he hurt his knee falling hard. A woman says she saw him at the convenience store, explaining his poor look back then.
Dark texture fills the top of the image, contrasting with light below.
A male and female newscaster discuss an image of a man and text confirm the industry has changed and Yang Jae-hyuk is involved in violent controversy.
Winter smiles gently while posing with perfume bottle labeled Edelweiss.
A text screen thanks readers, apologizing for translation errors, and announces 4 extra episodes before Season 2. The man in the suit holds up a card with the translator's name on it.
Winter looks at his phone with a serious expression. Winter sits up, his heart beating with a loud but dumb sound. A hand slides across papers with the sound slide.
Social media chatter suggests the rumors are true about the assault. Narration states the Showbiz article is obviously about Winter and Gyeo-wool. Gyeo-wool is shown, thinking anyone who saw the show knows he cared for Winter.
Winter smiles widely on stage with other idols.
Winter models for Edelweiss perfume, becoming their first male ambassador. A fork stabs a salad, commanding Gyeol-namu to wait and see. 2 idol members smile, agreeing they will catch up in no time.
Winter laughs. A member says it's unfair, and Winter questions why it is unfair.
The idol group members sit around a table eating a meal. Winter recalls Yang Jae-hyuk commenting on his sucking on a straw.
Winter lies awake surrounded by penguin plushies, tapping his phone, unable to sleep. Winter gasps, eyes wide open in shock. Winter sits up, startled as the penguin plushies chirp, chirp.
Silhouettes of people walk near white columns. A bell rings with a ding.
His heartbeat pounds, thump, 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 as he wonders if it is another weird dinner.
The bell rings loudly with a ding.
Winter stands, facing the camera, saying the doors are opening.
The production area is bustling with busy staff and equipment.
Winter agrees to go say hi to the staff with his Hyung.
The salesman explains their partnership theme is secret boyfriend for hotel guests.
Winter fidgets nervously, told to loosen up.
A man alerts Winter that the CEO is coming and just arrived. The handsome CEO in a black suit appears. Winter looks confused. Winter introduces himself as Pale Green's Winter, wondering where he has seen the man.
The CEO bows deeply, stating he looks forward to the shoot. Winter sweats and bows awkwardly as the CEO enthusiastically promises to give his all. The CEO stares intensely, saying he should be the one thanking Winter.
Winter smiles, surrounded by pink flowers.
The idol looks up, resting amongst flowers.
The CEO thanks Winter for the great opportunity. Winter replies the thank you should go to him.
The CEO smiles, calling Winter a great model and saying he is just a salesman. A man in a puffy jacket and sunglasses smirks knowingly. Winter looks surprised, murmuring the name Han Yol.
Winter asks if the man wearing shades came to his signing event.
The CEO confirms, smiling, that he did attend.
The man in the suit explains he only went once, recalling Winter wrote he was debating whether to tell Winter he was a fan, preferring that over Winter getting the wrong idea. The CEO smiles, reassuring Winter there is no pressure.
Winter looks shocked and wide-eyed.
The CEO confirms he is only mentioning this since the shoot is over.
Winter blushes, questioning the food trucks the CEO sent with sweet messages. Silhouettes gather around a pink food truck with the message, "Please take care of Winter."
A beautifully prepared steak dinner is shown with a joyful wow. Two chibi idols joke that maybe one of Winter's fans won the lottery.
The 5 idol members pose in front of the food truck.
The CEO asks if bragging about his actions is weird, calling his own efforts silly.
The man in the suit holds up a card for the translators. Winter looks down at his phone in profile. Winter sits in bed facing away, his heart beating fast with a ba-dum sound. A hand slides a paper across a surface. A social media post appears over a dark, textured background. A narrator believes the showbiz article is about Winter and Gyeo-wool.
The man in the hoodie thinks anyone who saw the show knows Gyeol cared for Winter.
Winter smiles widely on stage with his microphone headset.
The picture says Winter, Pale Green, is the first male Edelweiss ambassador.
A fork stabs a salad, saying to wait for you Gyeol-namu.
2 male idols assure their member they will catch up quickly.
Winter laughs, and a member asks why it's unfair if Winter claims he is being fair.
The idol group members sit around a table eating a meal. Winter recalls Yang Jae-hyuk commenting on his straw-sucking ability.
Winter lies in bed, unable to sleep, tapping his phone surrounded by penguin toys.
Winter gasps suddenly, eyes wide open.
Winter wakes up with a chirp sound, surrounded by plushies.
An elevator dings as people wait in the lobby.
Thump, thump, thump. He worries about another weird dinner. A loud ding sound breaks through the dark static. Winter stands in the open doorway, saying the doors are opening.
The production room is a chaotic bustle of staff and equipment. Winter agrees to greet the staff with his hill.
The man explains the hotel partnership theme is secret boyfriend for guests.
Winter fidgets nervously, but manages an, "Oh, okay."
A man tells Winter the CEO is arriving right now. The sharp-dressed CEO appears, making Winter look confused and ask, "Huh?"
Winter introduces himself, wondering where he has seen the CEO. The CEO bows deeply, looking forward to the shoot.
The CEO promises to give his all, while Winter bows nervously and sweats.
The CEO stares intensely, thinking he should be the one thanking Winter.
Winter smiles, surrounded by shining pink flowers.
Winter reclines, surrounded by pink flowers.
Winter thanks the CEO for the opportunity, but the CEO insists he should be thanking Winter. The CEO smiles, noting Winter is a great model, while calling himself just a salesman. A man in a puffy gray jacket and dark sunglasses smirks. Winter looks surprised, murmuring Han Yol.
Winter asks if Hanyal came to his signing event wearing shades. Hanyal confirms with a smile that he did attend.
Hanyal tells Winter he was having a bad day and wrote his name wrong once.
Hanyal reveals he was debating telling him he was a fan, but wanted to prevent Winter from getting the wrong idea.
Hanyal smiles, assuring Winter there is no pressure. Winter looks surprised and wide-eyed.
The CEO states he is only saying this since the shoot is finished.
Winter blushes, questioning the food trucks the CEO sent with sweet messages.
Silhouettes gather around a pink food truck with the message, "Please take care of Winter."
A beautifully prepared steak dinner is shown with a joyful wow.
Two chibi idols joke that maybe one of Winter's fans won the lottery.
The 5 idol members pose in front of the food truck.
The CEO asks if bragging about his actions is weird, calling his own efforts silly.
Winter insists the CEO's age has nothing to do with their professional relationship, sweating profusely.
The CEO smiles subtly, observing Winter's distress.
Winter expresses shock as the CEO offers the expensive suit as a gift. Winter's outfit sparkles, confirming the gift is really for him.
Chibi Winter looks shocked and distressed, asking if the gift is okay, and the CEO confirms it is.
The CEO and Winter look intently at each other.
A third man suddenly steps between them with a whoosh, putting his arm around Winter.
The CEO smiles, thinking the interaction went really well.
A man lies down, sighing with an sound.
The man lies in bed, looking for white noise as his phone beeps.
A video flashes, showing 2 idols in performance.
The close-up reveals the idol with a mic headset is Winter.
City noises chirp, chirp, chirp softly in the night.
The man stayed up all night watching Winter on every show, wanting to meet him.
A digital clock shows 6:12 as ticket exchange messages appear on a phone.
The man in the coat drives quickly, vroom, blankly wondering what he is doing. Hands hold a signed picture of Winter with a butterfly design.
The man in the white shirt looks dejected, sitting alone.
The man in sunglasses observes the reflection of a man in glasses. The hair salon welcomes the client. A woman asks the man in the puffy gray jacket if he has a style in mind.
The man requests an approachable look. Winter looks relieved, realizing he was freaking out over nothing.
A member asks Gyeo-wool about the CEO, worried he tried something weird.
Winter smiles, saying the CEO was just a fan and wanted him as the model. Winter smiles softly, tapping his phone.
Chibi Winter and a member laugh with a pft sound, questioning the CEO's ideas. Winter taps his phone, apologizing for sending so many messages.
Winter thinks about making him laugh, looking at messages about his penguin nickname.
Winter pauses, looking at a small photo of himself. Winter is shown during a photo shoot break, receiving lipstick-shaped candy.
A woman smiles, saying it's strawberry-flavored candy, not lipstick.
Winter exclaims, "Wow," saying the candy is so cool.
Winter snaps a selfie of himself holding the candy. Winter laughs, thinking the other guys will find this funny too.
Winter texts Sunbae, apologizing for the late reply after the photo shoot. A chibi Winter panics, realizing he sent too many texts. The car drives away at night. Winter thanks Hung for the ride.
Winter trudges along, carrying flowers and commenting on the long day.
A black luxury car is parked outside the building.
Winter is startled by a whir, seeing the man in the car.
The man in the gray shirt looks intently at Winter. Winter gasps loudly in shock. Winter holds a bouquet of sparkly pink flowers. The driver says, "Gyeo-wool, hop in."
The driver sits, thinking he got in before realizing it.
Winter looks over at a bag from the veterinary hospital. The man smiles, saying Winter looks good with his hair down too. Winter stares, saying, "What?" As the driver mumbles, he looks kinda cute. Winter, blushing, asks the man why he came all this way.
The man in the gray sweater asks Winter if he didn't feel weird about the gifts, but Winter replies, "No, not at all."
Winter smiles, happily noting his first solo ad campaign received no complaints.
Winter thinks he always had to manage alone because he didn't know anyone, but the man says that's awfully arrogant of him.
Winter looks shocked, asking what, as the man in the dark suit stands over him.
The man in the gray sweater tells Gyeol-namu he is arrogant, wondering how he can claim he doesn't know anyone with the man right there. The man in the gray sweater apologizes, saying he didn't mean it like that, as a chibi Winter looks worried.
P.A.T. The man gently pats Winter's head, who looks up at him.
A hand runs gently through Winter's hair.
Rustle, the hand gently touches Winter's ear as it rests on his head.
Badoom, Winter's heart races while he sits rigidly in the car seat.
Clench, Winter closes his eyes, suppressing his reaction.
The man in the gray sweater asks, after Winter calls out, "Hyung."
Winter leans forward, offering to buy the man a present since he made money from the ad. The man looks surprised. Wow, Winter smiles as the others, holding up shoeboxes, confirm he bought them sneakers.
The man in the gray sweater smiles subtly, proposing they have dinner sometime.
Winter smiles broadly, agreeing to dinner sometime.
Vroom, a black van speeds past a street corner with empty tables.
Winter looks out the car window beside the man's neck. Winter sits thoughtfully in the passenger seat in his suit jacket. Russell, the man in the gray sweater, waves goodbye, saying he'll get going then.
Step. The man in the gray sweater steps out of the car in dark dress shoes.
Winter looks out, watching the man leave.
Russell, the man in the gray sweater stands next to the car, holding a large bouquet of pink flowers. A light glow surrounds the man and Winter as the man presents the bouquet, saying, "Here."
The man smiles, holding the bouquet and saying, "Winter forgot these."
Hands clutch the flowers and papers tightly.
Winter turns away, looking over his shoulder and softly saying, "Thank you."
The man in the gray sweater smiles, telling Winter to head on in now.
The man explains that he got the bouquet from the photo shoot staff. Winter reflects that it's not like Hyung gave it to him or anything.
Winter thinks but, looking at the large bouquet of roses. Winter smiles gently, smelling the flowers, admitting the man is still the one who handed it to him.
An institutional building with red brick and a sign about laying down life for country.
A man in a dark coat stands talking to a smiling soldier in fatigues.
Click. The man in the dark coat whispers, "There are cameras here," as soldiers smile in the background.